whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.FM. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5, right here on WRLR.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Welcome into the Sports Corner with the Sports Guys for a Saturday morning. And also welcome to the weekend. Don Johnson, Bruce Becker, our intern Rob Cartwright. I'm Rusty Silber. Welcome on in. We got a lot to talk about here today. I should have worn my blue suit today, to be honest. Cubs convention going on this morning. Actually, all weekend long down at the Sheridan Hotel in the city, downtown Chicago. And we got believe it or not, somebody down there that'll help us out with that momentarily. We're going to talk some football end of the season. Yeah, the Bears are done. But they got done with the, should we say, the project they were after with the number one pick in the NFL. Who would have thought that at the start of the year? But they never did match the amount of wins that I predicted. I'm going to throw that out there because I said 4 victories this season. And we all said, oh, yeah, they're going to get 6. Who said 8 or 9? Someone said 8 or 9 around the station, but... they got 3, and by the way, the Packers didn't even make the playoffs. Thank you, Lions, for taking care of that, and we'll see what happens next for the Packers in the offseason. What will Rodgers do next? It's his decision along with the Packers. Seems like the Packers want him, but we'll talk about that. We'll also get our picks in, talk about the playoffs, college Swamp Rat segment. A lot to talk about there with national championship. That wasn't a national championship last Monday night. Yeah, they played a game, but they didn't really play the game. Let's just say it that way. It was all Bulldogs. High school basketball last night. We had a great game here on WRLR, and it was a buzzer beater. A win for the Libertyville Wildcats over the Stevenson Patriots. A Maryland recruit, Emily Fisher, hit the game-winning shot. And boy, was that exciting. Great win. We'll also talk a little bit about soccer, draft time for the NWSL the other day. The Fire making some moves this week, believe it or not, as they get ready for preseason coming up in the next week or two. And we'll also talk about golf, believe it or not. They're in Hawaii again. The Sony Open will make our picks coming up here this week. Let's welcome in the guys around the table. Who would that be? Oh, we got Don Johnson. How you doing this morning, Don?
Pretty good, Rusty. How about yourself?
Doing all right. I see Don is just ready and ready to go. He's punching stuff away on his computer, picking up all the great information. I can see that.
The Sports Corner.
Bruce, how you doing this morning, buddy?
I'm here.
You're here? I'm not even going to call him the fourth peel anymore, the third peel, something in that order. We've got our intern, Rob Cartwright, also. How you doing, Rob?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. Everybody seems so quiet and
This is exciting. I just had to look this up. That's why I'm kind of quiet right now.
Everyone's got something going.
Pitchers and catchers report in 30 days.
30 days.
February 13th.
Right. All right.
How exciting is that?
Well, after a football season, which we'll get into in a bit, I can understand why we're saying that. pitchers and catchers starting in a matter of days.
We're getting to the meat of the football season now.
Yeah, well,
This is the fun time.
But
Yes.
for those people that probably don't care because
this is baseball season.
yeah, it's baseball. Once the Bears are knocked out, especially the Packers are out, we got to go to something better, something in our minds like baseball.
Well,
and guess what? You're not going to believe this. We have a guest who used to be part of the show, who happens to be following the Cubs fan convention, and that happens to be Mike McCarthy. Mike, how you doing this morning, buddy?
Gentlemen, I'm doing great. How about you?
Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Hey, Mike, have some of that Kool-Aid, would you?
Hey, Mike. First off, are you actually at the Sheridan for the weekend?
We're not staying there at Sheridan, but me and a buddy of mine, his daughter works for the Cubs, so we came yesterday, had a great time last night, with the opening ceremonies and everything, and then we were out of the north suburbs at 7 o'clock this morning, and now we're waiting in line to get into the main session. They haven't opened the ballroom doors yet, but Tom Ricketts goes live at 9 o'clock this morning.
Well, first off, what's the crowd like? I mean, they haven't done this for a few years. What was it? Give us a picture of what you saw last night.
It's Cubby blue all over the place. It's the Kool-Aid is flowing like you can't imagine. It is just it's a sea of Cub fans, generally very positive. It seems excited about the team. I don't think they're necessarily excited about ownership, based upon the response last night when Tom Ricketts took the stage for a brief time during the intros. But man, it is Cubby blue. They should set up a waterfall with Kool-Aid here, because I don't think that'd be enough for this crowd to consume.
Mm-hmm. What was the response when he showed up? What was the response?
The response, was, I would say, probably about 75% boos and
wow,
20% light applause and 5% cheering.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I don't understand that. I mean, the Cubs just went out and spent nearly $250 million on improving the team, and they improved it more than anybody in Major League Baseball this year, and yet they're still whining and crying about it. Is that just Cubby blue?
Bruce, I think we could debate that point. When you look at what teams like the Padres and the Rangers, the Mets are doing, that's what they think, and the Dodgers, that's what they think the Cubs should be doing. Mm-hmm. And they added a shortstop, probably fourth, fifth best shortstop on the market, still a very good one, but still not a Trey Turner or Carlos Correa territory. Mm-hmm. And they added a number 4 starter. So I think that's it. And if you heard, Ricketts was on full blast yesterday on other sports radio stations with interviews, did a lot of word salad, talking about spending and so forth, and why they didn't go after some of the bigger names. So I think that's where the frustration lies, is that, you saw a payroll last year that was 14th, 15th, middle of the pack, and they're a big market team. And we've seen in Major League Baseball that it takes money now. It's not the old adage, well, let's just build through the draft, let's, sign up young players and so forth. So for the most part, you win in a championship, you've got to spend money. And I think the fans think, for the most part, that Tom Ricketts has not done that.
Part of that interview, and I know what you're talking about because I heard some of that yesterday, Ricketts came out and said, we've done our work by getting, all these prospects. Now the work for this year is going to be getting offense. So when you hear those statements, what does that kind of tell you coming from Ricketts?
Well, two things. I agree. I do agree that they have built through the minor leagues, that they have replenished the minor leagues. That I don't know if they're the top. You could consider one of the top minor league teams, but they certainly have an adequate supply, apparently, of young talent relative to what we've seen for some of the other big market teams and teams that have done it smart. So I do agree with that assessment there. As far as offense, I don't see what they've done offensively. In fact, you can make the case, and I think you absolutely make the case, that they are one of the better defensive teams in all of baseball. Mm-hmm. And so I that assessment, on the offense, they're still seriously lacking in offense. Defense, they're strong.
Hey, Mike, do you feel like last year a lot of fans felt like the Cubs weren't committed to winning? When I say that as putting the money towards winning, do you feel did you get that same sense from the fans there now, or do they feel like maybe they're returning to their commitment?
I don't think they feel like they're returning to their commitment, only because when you look at what other teams have done. Now, they'll be a lot better than they were last year. I think payroll was about $185 million. They were ranked 14th or 15th in all of baseball. But they are spending money. Tom yesterday said that they'll be up against they probably will be close to he called competitive balance tax, commonly known as the luxury tax, that they'll be in that range. So I think they're still 18 million short of that or something. So he used the term that we want to keep our powder dry. That remains to be seen. Are they really going to go out and make that big move when the time comes? But when you look at what the Padres have done, the Rangers, and the Dodgers already previously, and especially when you look at the Mets, Steve Cohen said, I don't care. I don't care what the luxury tax is. I want a roster full of elite players. I think that's now the standard that fans look at when you're a big market team like the Cubs. Let's be like those teams. And I don't think from a baseball fan perspective, or either most GMs are not going to do what the Mets do, right? That's not realistic. But why can't you do what the Dodgers have done? There's no reason to not be in the same conversation with the Dodgers when it comes to spending money and acquiring talent.
For
the
longest, Chicago's market has been unique. When I say that, the sports market is different from all other markets because of the power of the media and the teams here. So that weight, I think, is different when you're in Chicago, and there's a lot of pressure every year. So I'm wondering how much that affects their decision making going ahead. You know what I mean? It's not like being in San Diego. You're in Chicago. That's different. Sports fans are really aggressive here.
Well, that's the challenge, right? You're seeing New York. What do the Yankees just give Aaron Judge, right? What the Dodgers, they had an outstanding franchise. What did they do last year? They went out and got Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts towards the end of the previous year. So, I think of New York, L.A., Chicago, certainly of New York. Chicago media and fan base is a lot more forgiving and understanding and patient. But still, the expectations are there for being a big market team, no question.
All right, Mike, we appreciate your time. Do me a favor: do not storm the doors. Do not knock anybody over.
No, I don't. Don't worry. We're looking at the crowd here now. It's a little slow. I thought it'd be a lot more, but so we should be. The ballroom, it'll be packed by the time Tom Ricketts comes on. But
all right, do me a favor
towards the front. So. Hopefully, you can't read the expression on my face when I roll my eyes a few times.
Do me a favor and send us some pictures, including if you get the autograph too from Mr. Ricketts, because you're always around somewhere getting autographs. I know that. So thanks a lot, Mike. Right. We appreciate the opportunity to hear from you. All right.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
All right, Mike.
All right. Mike McCarthy down at the Sheraton Hotel, getting ready for the big panel today. I heard Tom Ricketts is going to talk. I also heard David Ross, a few other people from the Cubs. And it's first time in 5 years that they're going to get in front of the media. Well, Ricketts especially.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been 3 years since they had the convention.
It's 3 years for the convention, but it's the first time he's going to step up there and start talking. And like he said, I can only imagine the mixed reaction of the fanfare that's going to be out there. That'll be interesting. Yeah. Sheraton Hotel, in case you want to go down there, check it out. I believe it's going on all weekend, and you get plenty of autographs. That's why Mike's down there. He's not down there to listen. He's down there to get his autographs. Are you kidding me? So
Mike keeps his autographs.
He's the ultimate super fan. He's got an autograph and a picture for almost every person.
I think he got our autograph, before he left here. I don't know. Let's talk a few things back to football if we can. The best news is Damar Hamlin. He left Cincinnati, the hospital, medical center down there earlier in the week, was transferred to Buffalo, and after a day or so, they checked him out, made sure he was okay. They released him. They let him go back home, and he's going through some cure, around his home for a while. But this is good news. I mean, he's pretty healthy.
I bet the ranch he plays next year.
Oh, why not?
Absolutely.
I mean, we talked about that story about that lacrosse player who went back and played in 3 weeks. I'm sure there's a lot of medical people there watching this youngster, but I hope he gets back out there because I think he wants to get over, that fear. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fear for him to get that first hit. We talked about that.
Well, I don't think there's any urgency for him to rush back because obviously it was a life-threatening situation. And if we look at this whole thing in its totality, we're not even talking about like Tua's injury. Mm-hmm. Tua has a severe concussion injury. They don't really like talking about it. It's something that the NFL kind of shies away from. But say this kid had died on the field, this thing would be totally different. Or say that he incurs some injury down the road that triggers another concussion. So, they got to really walk softly right now because that is at the forefront of everything. If you ask me, they're just lucky that it went the way that it did.
And I'll say this, too. I think for NFL perspective and with the fans and the game itself, I think we're pretty fortunate and lucky to see the game come back last week. And I was wondering if, by the time it was Thursday, if they may have a thought, they were talking about maybe moving back the Bengals or the Bills games, but they stuck with it and they said, no, we're going to get the games back rolling. And I got to compliment and pat the NFL. They got it going. And there was so much love for, Hamlin throughout the whole weekend. I think every franchise did something, even other sports too. It was great to see. It kind of brought back the feeling of, hey, football's important or other sports are important. After something life-threatening, life and death that we saw with Hamlin, it added so much for the weekend. And oddly enough, there weren't that many big hits out there in the game. They just went out and played. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I think everything worked out pretty well last weekend, with the exception during the week they came out and they said that the AFC Championship would be at a neutral site. In my mind, I'm saying, it might be a good idea, but I know Kansas City's not happy about it because, hey, we won the number one spot outright. We should be the one hosting, and there's some controversy going on with that.
Well, I get their position. They earned it. I mean, you're taking away something that they earned. So I can see why their feathers would be ruffled for that. But if you look at the big picture of the NFL, I get it. Sometimes you make adjustments as things go along. But just as I said, it could have gone south. I'm sure we didn't hear any reporters ask this question. But what if he would have died? What would have been the contingency plans then? Mm-hmm. And how would they have approached the game? There's a lot of money at stake if you don't play these games, particularly TV money, and you're locked into it. So let me tell you something. All those things are on the table, but a man's life was on the table too, which is, you can't put any value on that.
Doug, I think that's kind of a question you probably ask behind closed doors. Rather than the open.
You might be talking to, you might not say it on the air, but you certainly, if you're an inquiring reporter, you're going to be talking to management people off the air to get a sense if there was a plan in place, what would have happened. Because it's conceivable, we're still not out of the woods with this guy, period. He's out of the hospital, and they're spinning it like it's a great situation. But this is a man's life. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
It's life and death. It's something that we don't encounter in a sport to lose somebody like that, and you're right. It's a positive spin on it, and we hope for the best that it keeps going in the right direction.
The good thing about this, if there's a sunshine to this, is this didn't occur because he has an illness associated with it. This was a extremely, almost infinitesimal possibility of happening. It did, but it's not from a disease of any kind, which is outstanding because he can recover from that just from rest and what you're supposed to do normally.
Well, there's so many unknowns though. Still, like for me when I played, I know I had a lot of internal injuries. There are no measurements for that. They're only talking about concussions. They're not really talking about how hits shift your organs.
Sure.
They're talking about the brain. They're not talking about how it moves your kidneys. A lot of players are lacerated kidneys in the NFL. They don't really talk about that. There's a lot of changes in lungs. We know some of our top players, they're not even living. Mm-hmm. Franco Harris just died. Walter Payton's dead. Earl Campbell is crippled. We're talking about all of our heroes here. So, you got to be real about certain things. Their life expectancy. You pay the price.
Doug Buffon.
Yeah. You pay
a lot of players out there. A couple this past week that passed away, and they were only in their, early 50s or in their 40s. So it kind of hurts. One thing it does hurt, by the way, on the field, Bears ended up losing as we expected last week. Fields did not play. And, I know Don's going to bark at me, but I'll tell you one thing. I look back at this season with the Chicago Bears. To me, okay, they get the number 1 pick. There is a lot more to this team that needs to get done than people realize. I think we've gone backwards.
Oh, I disagree.
Now, hold on. Let me say that you guys are going to jump on me, but I'll tell you something. I think we've gone backwards. Okay, there could be a quarterback for the future. But the thing is, you could have any quarterback in the NFL lead this team, but you need other positions. You need other spots on this team that has to be taken care of. It's a long way to go. And this is where that number 1 pick is going to be an important pick. Trade, get picks, or whatever you want to do with it. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not, as a fan or as someone watching over this organization, I think this team has gone to a spot where it is lower than it has gone in a long time.
See, I totally disagree. Here's what I'm going to say to you, okay? Because in football, sometimes the obvious is not the obvious. When players work hard to do something, there's an evolution in their growth as players. And I can say, I think when I talk to a lot of people, their feeling is, okay, the Bears went. Literally, they only won 3 games. But we felt like they were in almost every game they played.
There were a lot of
they could have won those games. There's at least,
but they didn't.
That's irrelevant. Yeah, that's irrelevant because it's a new system, it's a new coach, it's a new GM. Okay, but here's the thing. There's at least 6 or 7 games that were winnable, very winnable. Okay, and so I think they set themselves up for a good next season. I think they got, like you said, there's some spots they got to fill, but I don't feel like they're that far away. I honestly don't. I was starting to worry because these guys wouldn't know a quarterback if it hit him in the face. We saw how immensely talented this kid was because we saw the old coach told him not to run. You could see it. He didn't even leave the pocket. When they took the chains off of him and said, just run, we saw a totally different aggression level of this player. He almost set the record for rushing for quarterbacks. The guy is like a different animal. Period.
But for me, some of his stats in 2 years now, 27 touchdowns, 21 interceptions in 2 years.
Okay, well, so what?
So he's running for his life when he's throwing the football. Okay, he's chaotic and he's throwing the ball away.
But is that his fault? If you don't have a line, and then, okay, if you're going to use that argument, let's go to Dak Prescott, okay? He's throwing the most interceptions of his career. It doesn't matter.
And he missed 5 games.
What matters is the dub, baby. The W. That's what matters. None of that stuff matters.
I think, for me, I would consider this a successful season. You divulged all of the things that you had problems with in the past. You get to put players on the field to analyze them. You're going to know who's going to keep and who's going to go, and a lot of guys you'll never hear from again, and they'll wind up on practice squad someplace else. You've got the number 1 pick, and I had an argument with somebody about this. I said, right now, if you didn't have Justin Fields, and he was in the draft, who was the first guy you pick? Justin Fields. It's not going to be Young.
No.
It's Justin Fields. So
I don't know how you can ignore that.
But I don't like the fact that they came out and said that they're not looking for a quarterback. That's just plain dumb.
Well, we went back and forth, and I think you opened my eyes to something, and I think it's good. I would select the best player available for the number 1 pick, and if that's a quarterback, so what?
Right. But don't say it.
But that's draft cap. Whether you say it or not doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does because you're tipping your hand.
No, because other teams value that quarterback. They need a quarterback. And so let's say you draft the kid from Ohio State or you draft the kid from Bama, okay? And you have that as capital, draft capital. That's really what we're talking about. Then you can get some of those other needs. You can get 2 or 3 picks for that quarterback to fill those alignment, defensive or offensive, because you need them both, right?
Well, I have some names here that you could also use without having to draft them, too. But what I'm saying is maybe they're playing coy.
You made me think about that last week.
What they may be doing is playing coy here. So we're not, and then as we go through the combine, they say, "Well, wait a minute. Now we've seen some things here that we kind of like about Young, and now you're mixing the pot."
Well, that's dangerous. There, I would not do that.
But that's just playing games.
You have a proven product. You don't want to shake.
No.
In his mind where he is.
You're going to sit him down and tell him.
Well, you better.
That's what you're going to do because you want to mix the pot here. But really something I thought about a couple days ago, Don.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a point system that they use to grade each of these picks, so you have to kind of get a little extra for what you want. Okay, but they all use it up and down the line.
Yeah, whatever.
You know what I'm thinking here is you have the first pick. Now you trade to Houston. Okay? It's for the second pick. Then when it comes time for you see the lay of the land. Now you trade again down to 3, and you collect a little bit more real estate. And then maybe things go your way, and you drop to number 4 and collect more real estate and still get a great defensive player that you want anyway, whether it be Caleb or Anderson.
Maybe, because here's the thing. C.J. Stroud might be returning back to Ohio State, so that second pick might not be.
He's got to make a decision before the draft.
He's got to do that. Right.
C.J. Stroud's going to come out.
But you could acquire a lot of draft picks as you go down the line here. Mm-hmm. And like I said, there's a couple of players I have on a list here that may fit the Bears exactly what they need if they don't get what they want out of either an edge rusher or a defensive tackle that would fill those spots real well.
Okay. And then to my point about the quarterbacks, the NFL scouts have missed it every year. Look at who the top quarterbacks are in the NFL. They didn't assess Patrick Mahomes well. They didn't assess Tom Brady well. They didn't assess Joe Burrow well. They didn't assess Trevor Lawrence well. They said he was the next thing since sliced bread. He's now starting to play better this year. But if you look at the top quarterbacks, they misread every single one of them.
Trevor Lawrence is the top 10 quarterback.
But the thing is,
Trevor Lawrence is top 10.
They misread, whether he's top 10 or not. But the point is, you got to win. They misread him.
Doing that.
They misread him. But the point is, he hasn't won anything.
Hey, John.
And Jalen Hurts, they misread him. Okay.
Oh, yeah, they
misread about 10 quarterbacks.
This has been going on for years if you look back, because anytime you got a Heisman Trophy winner that was a quarterback, they never did anything in the NFL. All of a sudden, in the last 10 years or so, the NFL, we can take a quarterback out of college football, put him right back there, right behind the center, and put him out there and start playing. It still takes 2 to 3 years to get yourself to be a good quarterback.
Most players laughed at the fact when a guy won the Heisman Trophy in the NFL, because they said that was a joke. Because most of them were busts.
Only thing that
none of them came in and just did it. All your top upper echelon quarterbacks were not Heisman Trophy picks. They were not first rounders. They came in and they proved themselves. Joe Montana,
Only thing that bothers me, Don, is that Justin Fields without question, has to get rid of that hitch. He will never be an efficient quarterback if he doesn't get rid of that hitch.
He'll get rid of it because Justin Fields is a smart athlete, and he is a superior athlete to almost every quarterback in that position. He's got some growth to go, but you got to have some people to protect him. That's my personal opinion.
I just want to get your opinion on something here. If they wind up with Will Anderson, how about Darren Payne with the Commanders? He's a free agent, and he had 11.5 sacks last year. That could be your inside man on defense.
Well, whoever you get, you've got to get a dominant lineman, defensive lineman, an impact player, not somebody that's going to sit on the bench, but somebody who's
Darren Payne is an impact player.
And then on offense, you think he is. You don't know that.
Well,
on the NFL level.
Statistically, he's very good.
Statistically.
Right. That's not what everybody goes by.
One thing this week with the Bears, Kevin Warren made that jump. He's now gone from the Big Ten commissioner to be the president of the Chicago Bears.
New sheriff in town. His name's Reggie Hammond.
And we'll tell Phillips, go on, good move, lateral move. Is this going to be good for the Bears? I don't know. I think we'll see where this goes. I mean, they need someone else to be leading the way at this point, and it's a good time to do it right here at the end of the season. Put them in there.
You know what? You know what happened, Rusty? Yeah. The Bears grew up this week.
Well, let's look at
diversity as well. Grew up this week.
Well, I would just say let's just look at how things are trending for the Bears. Ryan Poles, young personality, injected into management, making good choices. You're bringing in a guy, Warren, Big Ten commissioner, was at the St. Louis Rams, was at the Detroit Lions, was at the Minnesota Vikings, was the Big Ten commissioner, has a law degree. He's done a lot of things as far as, and he's got a business degree, an MBA from Arizona State. His pedigree, his dad was the first black executive to run a bowl. The guy has a tremendous pedigree in terms of what he does. He helped Chris Zorich, who is now a lawyer. He met him when he was a player at Notre Dame. He was at Notre Dame Law School, by the way, which is where he met Chris Zorich. He formed his own company, an agency for players. Chris Zorich was one of those people. Chris Zorich is now a lawyer who went to Notre Dame Law School. Warren went to Notre Dame Law School. So there's a lot of ties there. And I'll just simply say this. He's got some Midwest leanings, but he came out of Penn, University of Penn, was a top basketball player in the Ivy League. So this is a guy who has a tremendous pedigree. Maybe sometimes that's not necessarily realized by people, but he certainly has a finer pedigree as anybody that he's working with.
I'm glad you said Penn, because I've got the pen ready for the picks. Bruce is looking at me.
I just want to make one other thought here on the Bears' decision. I'm impressed that the Bears have gone outside the organization for their upper management. I mean, we should have seen this coming when they hired, who was the guy? Polian. When they hired Polian to help look for a general manager. They went outside the organization, and now they've hired somebody outside. I think they're getting set up to sell the team. That's what I think.
Well, I don't know, but I can say this. I've never seen this before.
Right.
I mean, I've been a critic of the Bears.
This is good.
This is a different direction, totally.
Completely. Now, we'll see where it goes. Like I said, I am trying to be optimistic. I'm just not a fan of what I see, and I just think the Bears...
You're just a negative Nancy.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. You're bad Bears, bad Cubs.
3-14 is awful.
Now, if you said bad Sox, I would agree with you.
Yeah, well, it's irritating.
Well, the jury's still out.
It's irritating because you see a team that's so bad, and yet you hear so much, and it's like... You know something? I'm tired of hearing it. Show me something different. Maybe it is different. I'm tired of seeing it. I want something in front of me. I want something W's. I want something exciting.
Well, you did have that, and the thing is that everybody's measured. They're double standards sometimes. People, they want something here, but yet they don't want it for the other person. Classic example. We're looking at what Detroit Lions are doing, right? Head coach is 9-8. Jim Caldwell, who I know from Northwestern, was 9-7. No one talked. They fired him at 9-7. But the current coach is 9-8. So sometimes there are different standards for different people, depending on the timing of it and how they're perceived. Lovie Smith, he had a winning record. He was 10-7. He got fired, right? You remember him? We haven't had a coach reach that level in how many years? They wish they had Lovie Smith's record.
Gee, I hate to say
so
Nagy.
There's a lot, Well, you can't.
12-4.
Yeah. Nagy, right, exactly.
Yeah. That's a bad example.
Guys, we got to get through the picks here.
So
we got a lot of games to pick, playoffs this weekend. 6 games to go through, so we got to make this relatively quick of what we want to do. So let's go through these games in the playoffs.
Right, Rusty, swing it. Here we go.
Boy, this is going to be fun. There's some interesting games, but I'll tell you, glad we're not doing spreads because these numbers are ridiculous. They're off the chart in my book. First game, Seattle at San Francisco. I think they found a quarterback. They're going to stick with Purdy at this point. Well, I mean, they're at home. Seattle, give them credit for making the playoffs. They won their game, and then they got help from the Lions to beat the Packers. So they're in. Packers are not. They had a good stretch, but couldn't get it done. Anyhow, I'm going to jump in. And I'm gonna go with San Francisco here. They're at home. Carroll always gets something to work for him, but I'm not sure Geno Smith has any experience in the playoffs. Neither does Purdy, to be honest. But you got to like what San Francisco has. I'm going that route. Bruce,
same.
You want to go the same? Yeah. You want San Francisco,
yeah.
Rob?
I'm going San Francisco, but I do think it's going to be decently close.
I got a feeling it'll be one of those low-scoring games.
I don't think it's going to be low-scoring.
Field goals? You don't think so?
I think it's going to be in the 20s.
I don't know. I think it's going to be like 19 to 17.
Low. Anything under 40.
Don?
Yeah, this is clearly San Francisco.
23,
San Francisco beat up on them before, 21-13 early in the year. And they were 4 of 13 on third down conversions. This is going to be tough. But San Francisco's added some pieces since that last game. McCaffrey is one of those big pieces. And then Bosa's come. I mean, so you got that situation where their defense is the basis of what they do. 49ers. So, I mean, I think I'm going with the Niners easily. I think Niners are And I like Purdy is actually playing as well as anybody. He's actually playing as well as any quarterback that I've seen in a 49ers uniform. He's making good decisions.
Next game, we're going to bring in Trevor Lawrence, who apparently is playing pretty well right now. They got into playoffs. They won their division. But the big question is, can they win another game?
Yes.
That's the big question. They are at home. They came alive in the last, half dozen games. They survived Tennessee, but they got the Chargers. Another team that hasn't shown much in the playoffs, but San Diego coming all the way over to Jacksonville.
LA.
This is tomorrow night. Rob, you're jumping in already. What are you thinking?
Jacksonville's going to win the game.
You want Jacksonville?
Yeah. Especially without Mike Williams.
I heard that too. He's got a fracture in his back. Bruce?
Oh, boy. I'm going to lead on the Chargers a little bit here. I don't want to, but I just have a hunch.
All right. Don?
I would like to say the Chargers, but I don't have a lot of confidence in the Chargers. And I like the way Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars are playing. They've made a lot of mistakes, but they still were able to overcome it. And I think he's gaining confidence, Trevor Lawrence. I like the way he's playing. And their defense is a lot better up front than people realize.
You know, this to me is an intriguing game. I like Herbert as a quarterback. I like what he does. Without Williams, it's a problem. It's a question if Jacksonville gets off to a good start, Lawrence doesn't get nervous. It is a big game. It's an opportunity to say that, hey, I can play in the NFL, make the playoffs, do something here. This is my standard. He's been a winner all his life. I'm caught in this game. It's almost like a coin toss. I'm gonna take the home field advantage. That Williams thing really catches my mind here when I heard that last night.
Yeah,
I might have gone Chargers, but because he's out, that's a big receiver.
Yeah, but Keenan Allen is in, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen can work the middle of the field, and he's faster than Mike Williams.
Not only that, Jacksonville has to watch out for Austin Eckler catching the ball out of the backfield. He's going to see a lot of targets with
That's
Mike
why
Williams
when that
out.
injury happened, the line did not change at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's been pretty solid.
Still in my mind, I'm going to stick with Jacksonville. Next game on the list, we'll see what happens with this one, because I really don't think there's any opportunity that's going to go away from Buffalo. But I just got a feeling with Miami, they got the quarterback issue going on. I'm going to stick with Buffalo here. I think they got a lot of heart in this game, and they want to do something for Hamlin and everybody else in that community. I'm going to stick with Buffalo. Bruce?
I'm just sticking with Buffalo because they're the best team. That was my pick at the beginning of the year. Remember, you asked me that, Rob.
Mm-hmm. I did ask you that, but they're not the best team.
Buffalo has a lot of holes in their game, and they're showing up. There's some bad judgment out of the quarterback position in particular. If they don't get 2 kick returns on special teams, they don't win that game. And that's huge. That's not going to happen every game. So I think there's that margin of error that they had. They played with a lot of juice. But, you still got to like them in this matchup because Tua's not there. That's the thing about it. Tua's not there.
So you're going Buffalo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got to go Buffalo.
Why did you have
Buffalo.
to ask?
Everybody wants to go to Rob.
Good teams find ways to win.
Everyone wants to go with Buffalo, I should say that. Giants at Minnesota. Will a real team please stand up?
Which one?
That's why I said this. Will a real team stand up? Bruce, which way are you going?
I think the Vikings get through on this one.
So you want Vikings?
I don't think they go any farther, but I think this one.
The last few weeks, the Giants just have really collapsed in my book. And I didn't think they were that good to begin with. Minnesota's been fortunately lucky to get through these games.
Stand up.
That's what I said. Will the real team stand up? But I am going to go with the home team on this one. Rob?
I'm going to go with the Giants. I think that Saquon Barkley's getting healthy. I think he's got some fresh legs, and I love what Brian Daboll's doing.
If they were at home, might be a different story, change my mind, but it's not going to work. Don?
Yeah, I'm going with the Giants, too, because I think Daniel Jones is that wild card in this matchup. We know what we're getting out of Saquon. The thing is, can Daniel Jones run enough to keep him honest? We know he can throw the football, but he can't turn the ball over. That's the key. He can't turn the ball over. If he doesn't do that, they got their hands full. I think the Giants are going to get him this time. I don't know why.
Cincinnati playing at home against Baltimore. Good matchup, I think. But Cincinnati has come a long way. I still like the way Baltimore plays. If the game was in Baltimore, it would be the other way. I got guys shaking their head. Rob, what are you saying?
Well, Lamar's not playing, so Cincinnati.
All right. Don?
Joe Burrow has been ascending the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's a team uplifter. He took them with no line to the Super Bowl. The guy's a surgeon. I have a lot of respect for him. He does all aspects of the game very well. So I'm going with the Bengals. I just like the chemistry he has with T. Higgins, and his receivers are tight, man, and he's playing at the top of his game.
Bruce?
Bengals.
I like the Bengals as well. I like the way Burrow's going, and I've been saying it for the last 6 weeks that the Bengals have turned the corner and played well during the end of the season, just like they did last year. Our last game, oh boy, Dallas is at Tampa. I see the shake of the ear. I heard that from Bruce. I let Rob go first because he's the big Cowboy guy.
I'm just going to say Cowboys. I don't want to say much else. I don't want to jinx anything.
Bruce?
Cowboys.
I mean, you guys got to pick Tampa,
I'm glad you said
man.
it softly, and I'll tell you why. Don?
Well, here's what I'm going to say. You're going up against Tom Brady, and it's hard to go up against Tom Brady. But I believe this is the game where Dak gets over the hump because there's a lot of pressure on he and Mike McCarthy. If he doesn't win his game, it's going to be an early out again, and it's going to be a detriment to his career. So he's going to fight for it. Dak is that type of dude. And he's gone through catastrophic injuries. People have been naysaying him all year long. He's going to get over the hump.
One thing I will say is Dallas is 0-7 against Tom Brady, and this season, Dallas is only 1-4
you're talking stats,
on
and that's
real grass.
Is this a night game?
Yeah, it's Monday night.
And you're talking stats there again. Players do not think in terms of that. And when you go into a big game, you got to say, my medal is as good as yours.
Yeah.
And you make them show up, even if they're better. So what? Doesn't matter.
Tom Brady, okay, at night games against the spread is 2-18.
Oh, really? He's that good?
2-18 against the spread in a night game.
The only thing I'm going to say, you mentioned a couple stats. That's number one. Number two, Dallas mistake a fumble or a turnover in the fourth quarter, they're in trouble. And I'm going Buccaneers. I'm going with the GOAT. That's it. Mm-hmm. We'll hit the brakes.
Sometime in your life you may be wrong, too.
Coming up, back right after this here on WRLR.
Play the game, baby. Way to play.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
WRLR is community radio.
I feel much more informed with what's happening today.
When we say community, we really mean it.
It's not like corporate, and it's just a good station, you know?
We don't belong to some large corporation that makes a profit from this station.
Because I like the diversity.
And listeners won't be forced to listen to large blocks of advertising. Operations at community radio stations are made possible through grants and underwriting from companies within this area of operation. And donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next door neighbor talking to me, only he's on the radio instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.
Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 FM. I'm Marty Love, the host of Bacon Bits with Master Happiness.
And I'm not alone.
You're not?
I am not. I'm here with my bestest buddy,
Tiffany.
There you go.
We've all got reasons to be scared, angry, or sad. Happiness is outnumbered 3-1. Give us a little bit of your time, and we'll see if we can give you a reason to smile. That's Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, Monday nights at 7 p.m.
Isn't it nice?
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Welcome back to the Sports Corner. Sports Guys for a Saturday morning. 25 degrees our current temperature. We're going to try to get to 35 today. We're also going to try to maybe, I feel like I did this last weekend, to try to get some sunshine. Something that's been limited at times. Hopefully, we will see some by tomorrow at least. But it's going to get warmer though. 50 coming up by Monday.
beware end of next week. Just beware. That's all I'm going to say for right now.
It's going to get colder, I know that.
No, more than that.
I know. I saw that. I saw it. It's early, though.
Yeah,
it's early.
It's not that early when all three global models are on the same place.
All right. We'll worry about that a little bit later. Right now, the Swamp Rat College segment, we've got Carson on the line here today because he's enjoying the weekend family-wise. But Carson, national championship, was there a national championship last Monday night?
Hold on, Rusty. Before I do that, I was listening to you guys do your NFL predictions. I'm going to be bold here. My championship predictions are Chargers versus Buffalo in the AFC Championship and Cowboys versus 49ers in the NFC.
The only thing I can say to that, Carson, is that maybe that is a championship compared to what happened Monday night. What happened? Where was TCU?
They got exposed.
They knew what to do, and the key is Max Duggan. Remember, he's been carrying the team all year, the runner-up for the Heisman. Georgia beat TCU soundly, 65-7. The last time a team scored 60 or more points and won by this sort of margin, you have to go in a national championship. You have to go all the way back to 1995, when Tom Osborne was the coach in Nebraska when they beat Florida 62-24.
Wow.
The closest TCU gotten was 10-7 early on, but it was not pretty afterwards.
Well,
this is the first time. Oh, go ahead, Don.
I was going to say, if you had any doubt whether SEC is dominant, like I said, you got 4 or 5 deep in the SEC positions at a team like Georgia. And the thing about these teams is it's speed and size. It's a big difference between SEC and like Big Ten, even though the Big Ten doesn't like saying that. Huge difference on the line of scrimmage.
Wait a minute, Don. You're a Northwestern alum.
Exactly. Exactly. That means I'm knowledgeable.
I'm not going to let you blaspheme the Big Ten because the Big Ten had 2 teams in the playoff this year, and let's not forget.
Who did they beat?
Ohio State,
Little Sisters of the Poor?
Remember, Don, if Ohio State didn't shank that field goal against Georgia.
But they did. It's called pressure.
I never thought TCU was.
I think Ohio State would be hoisting up the crown right now.
You think? But what happened to them in the regular year? They weren't even in the conversation. They had to back in to the opportunity.
You know what it's called? One and done.
Exactly. You got to face facts, brother. Georgia,
they were the best.
Did what they did.
TCU was way
right. With an exclamation point.
All right, so this is the first time Georgia won back-to-back national championships in school history. The first team to go back-to-back in national championships since Alabama in 2011, 2012. Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett, the old man, was great on Monday night. 18 of 25, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, 39 rushing yards with 2 rushing touchdowns. And my twin, Carson Beck, got to get some playing time too. Georgia defense pressured Max Duggan. He had 5 sacks. They got 5 sacks on Duggan, 2 interceptions, and Duggan was 14 of 22, 152 yards, 2 interceptions, negative 3.8 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown.
Well, here's the big stat that I see. They only had 36 yards of rushing compared to Georgia 254. So that's huge to me.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Now, Mr. Russ, we had another championship go on in this past week in the FCS. The number 1 South Dakota State Jackrabbits beat the number 3 North Dakota State Bison 45-21 in the FCS championship, as well as the Dakota Marker Trophy. South Dakota State earns its first ever FCS championship title, first playoff win versus North Dakota State, and this is the first 4-game winning streak they've had over the Bison since 1947 through 1950. The game was tied at 7 apiece. The Jackrabbits went on a 21-0 run afterwards, and they never looked back. Jackrabbits had 283 yards and 3 touchdowns rushing. and Mark Gronowski threw 3 touchdowns and 223 yards. South Dakota State's only blemish was to my alma mater, the Iowa Hawkeyes, week 1, and South Dakota State went undefeated in FCS play. So like I told you last week, the Chinese culture said this is the year for the Rabbits, and it certainly was for the Jackrabbits.
All right. Hey, I understand that baseball and softball seasons are coming up fairly quickly, aren't they?
They are, Rusty, but let's focus on basketball right now, Rusty, if that's fine with you.
No, I wanted to talk baseball and softball. I'm excited about that. That's why I wanted to bring that up quickly before we hit basketball. Was that starting in like 2 weeks or something like that? Let's do that quickly. Yeah, I was saying, let's do that quickly here. I'm excited for it because I know they start in what in Florida and all the warm weather climates.
Something in that order, Rusty.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So let's shift over to hoops, the active sport right now. Illinois records right now: 117 and 109 overall. 31 and 27 in conference play. And let's give shout out to the Illinois Fighting Illini. They beat Michigan State last night, ending their 7-game winning streak. And ever since Illinois has started 0-3 in conference play, they've now won 3 in a row, and they're looking in prime position right now. Let's not forget that Illinois held Michigan State without a 3-point field goal for the first time since 2021 in March. This is the first time Illinois held an opponent without a 3-point make since 2008, also against Michigan State. So Illinois playing good basketball. There's a lot of good games going on this weekend. Let's run through them.
Hey Carson, I got to ask the 2 questions that gets in my mind here. Number one, because Illinois beat Michigan State last night, what has changed with Illinois? What changed in the last 3 games?
In my opinion, it's 2 things. One, they're playing a lot better defense and cleaning up the boards. And I think now that they've kind of experimented with their different lineups, that they kind of lost their stars from the last few teams, I think they're finding the right rotation mix-ups here. So I think that's the key to success. And before we preview the games that are going on this weekend, let's not forget to mention Northwestern Wildcats. They're in the top 4 in the Big Ten, but they lost 65-62 on Wednesday to Rutgers. Many bracketology experts are considering Northwestern at this moment. I know it's only mid-January. The last 4 teams to make the NCAA tournament.
Hold on. Hey, Carson, that was my other part of that question I want to throw is with Northwestern. I said I had 2 questions. Northwestern is the one you hit on here. They look so good, and then they come up to Rutgers, and I know, this is all across the NCAA. I mean, you got to beat your opponents, but teams are getting upset here left and right. I don't know if that's a big upset with Rutgers, but Northwestern's been playing so well. How did they falter in that game?
They were allowing a lot of points down low, and there was a lot of stretches where Northwestern didn't score. And also, when I was watching that game at Emo's doing trivia night, it seemed like offensive rebounds kept Rutgers alive in that game. It seems like Northwestern's living and dying with the success of Boo Buie.
In all reality, though, the Rutgers has a much richer history in basketball than Northwestern. We're talking apples and oranges. They recruit from kids in the city of New York. It's a different player. So I don't find that big of an upset because Rutgers has always been a better basketball school than Northwestern, as far as I know. But All
right, go ahead, Carson.
Yeah. And I like the job Steve Heichel's done rebuilding that Rutgers program. So I don't think it's a loss to hang your hat on by any means. So let's run through the games that are happening this weekend. Loyola struggling ever since they joined the Atlantic 10. They're winless in conference play. They'll be taking on St. Joseph today, who's also below 500. DePaul, they'll be taking on Seton Hall today at 11 on Fox Sports 1. Northwestern, they got a big test against Michigan on Sunday at 11. Remember, Michigan is coming off an overtime loss at Iowa, who's won a few games in a row in conference play. So this is going to be a tough game for Northwestern, but if they win it, that would certainly help their resume. Remember, Northwestern also won at Michigan State earlier this year, so Northwestern's not necessarily fraudulent. Illinois, they're taking on Minnesota on Tuesday, who's 7-8, but don't take the Gophers lightly. They went into Columbus and beat the Ohio State Buckeyes on the road. So that game will be at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Chicago State, they're off this week. They don't play until Monday the 23rd at Coastal Carolina. Northern Illinois will be taking on Toledo today at 3:30. Southern Illinois, they're taking on the Illinois State Redbirds at 7 o'clock today on ESPN3. Bradley, the Braves, they're doing well, 5-2 in conference. They'll be taking on the Drake Bulldogs on ESPNU and ESPN Plus at 7 p.m. UIC, they'll be at Murray State at 3 p.m. on ESPN3. SIUE, first in the Ohio Valley, will take on Lindenwood at 5:30 p.m. today on ESPN Plus. Eastern Illinois will be taking on Little Rock at 5:30 today on ESPN Plus. And then the Western Illinois Leathernecks will be at Kansas City at 7 p.m. today. Let's shift over to the ladies' hoops, if we can. Overall record there, not as pretty as the gentlemen. 96-115 is their overall record. In conference play, they're 26-36, and things aren't looking good. Northwestern, they're last in the Big Ten. They got pounded by Iowa and Caitlin Clark the other night, 93-64. Let's run through the games that are happening this weekend, and then there's other sports I want to hit real quick. Loyola, they'll be at Rhode Island on Sunday at 11 a.m. on CBS Sports Network. DePaul, they'll be at Xavier today at 1 p.m. Illinois, only ranked Illinois school, 24th. They battled undefeated Ohio State last week pretty well. They'll be at Minnesota on Sunday. Northwestern, as I mentioned, the last place in the Big Ten, they'll be taking on Purdue today at 2 p.m. Chicago State, our only winless Illinois women's team, they'll be taking on Olivet College Comets on Tuesday. Northern Illinois, they'll be taking on the Ohio Bobcats at 1 p.m. today on ESPN3. The Illinois State Redbirds, they're in a three-way tie for first. They'll be taking on, I think they don't play until later this week, but they are first in the Missouri Valley. Southern Illinois, they'll be taking on UIC at 2 p.m. on ESPN3. Bradley, they'll be taking on Murray at 2 p.m. Eastern Illinois, they're in a two-way tie for first. They'll be taking on Little Rock at 1 p.m. today on ESPN Plus. SIUE, they'll be taking on Lindenwood at 3 p.m. on ESPN Plus, and then Western Illinois will be taking on Kansas City at 12 p.m. Let's shift over from the hardwood to the ice rink. It's college hockey time. I'm going to give you the top 12 rankings right now, and then I'll give you some games to watch. The Quinnipiac Bobcats are first at 17-1-3. Minnesota Golden Gophers are 2 at 16-6. The South St. Cloud Huskies are 15-5 at third. The Denver Pioneers, the last year's national champions, they're 17-5 at fourth place. Penn State Nittany Lions right behind them at 17-5 in fifth place. Michigan Wolverines 12-7 in sixth place. Boston Terriers are 13-6 at 7. Ohio State 14-7 and 1 in eighth. Harvard Crimson, the Ivy League, 10-4-1. Number 10 Merrimack at 14-6. UConn 13-6-3 at 11, and Western Michigan 12-9 and 1. Games to watch today: Ohio State, number 8, taking on number 6 Michigan at 3:30. Then a local school, Notre Dame, they're 10-10. They'll be hosting number 2 Minnesota today. And then number 5 Penn State will travel to number 16 Michigan State. And then number 12 Western Michigan will be at North Dakota, who is receiving votes to be ranked. They're 9-8-4. So some nice games to watch in hockey. And I also want to give an update for our wrestling fans, if you will. Last night, locally, Number 2 Iowa defeated number 11 Northwestern 27-9 in Iowa City. So remember, Northwestern had a national champion wrestler last year. So Northwestern wrestling is certainly on the rise, but we know the prestige that Iowa has in wrestling.
Hey, Carson, I just thought of something here. I just want to kind of step quick back to football. Did I see that Iowa was going to play Northwestern at Wrigley Field next year?
Yeah, they brought that up.
That's something that's they've been doing those Big Ten matchups at Wrigley Field, courtesy me. That's what I'm
okay, so
say.
I did see that then.
Yeah.
But I thought for Carson,
I used to do this thing called the Chicago Football Classic.
Yeah, right.
And then suddenly Illinois Northwestern was playing at Wrigley Field. Now we saw Purdue playing Wrigley Field against Northwestern. Now we're seeing more games.
I take it, Carson, you'll be at that game, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a genius idea. There's plenty of Hawkeye Chicagoans that you may not notice, but there is certainly a lot of Iowa Chicagoans, and then there's a lot of Chicago kids that go to Iowa, so I think it's a great idea. Funny thing about Wrigley Field, I remember in 2010 when Illinois played Northwestern there, and because the big wall in baseball, you got to score one way, or else you're going to run into the wall.
Yeah,
so,
I was at the game. It was Northwestern Illinois.
You just shortened it to
I was
that
pretty
8-yard end zone.
miffed about that, but that's another story.
The 8-yard end zone,
Chicago
right?
State is considering football. They're doing a study right now about bringing Division I football to Chicago State.
Oh, I did hear that.
You know, I really can't wait to see Alabama take on Chicago State. You know how ugly that's going to be?
It would be good locally
It'd be good money
for the public school team, public school teams. And back in the day, they had great basketball teams. Because I used to do play-by-play when Bob Hallberg was the head coach.
But here's something interesting. I saw some write-ups on this or people commenting on this on social media. If you're going to put football at Chicago State, how come they don't have football at DePaul or Loyola?
Because they don't have the number of students to support it. And the public league is in the backyard of Chicago State.
I get that.
So it would be pretty easy to recruit. And the other thing is, Bruce Herron was the AD when I was there, a former Chicago Bear player. Chris Zorge, who we mentioned earlier, he was an AD at Chicago State for a while. Doesn't get a lot of publicity, but there's a lot of opportunities there in that particular neighborhood.
Carson, we got to let you go. Any last thought? Go ahead.
Yeah, for transfer portal news, the NCAA Council is voting to limit eligibility for second-time transfers. They're trying to make it more stringent for people transferring. They're going to make it very restrictive to maybe calm down the transfer portal.
Who does that benefit?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
But so the grad students don't have to sit out, though. It's only for the undergrad students. And also, Northwestern's getting close to approving their stadium renovation as well, I saw.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll take care. Have a good week. We'll talk to you soon, all right? All right, we need to hit the break. Back with more high school sports, buzzer-beating shots. Ooh, I like those. Back right after this here on WRLR.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.FM. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5, right here on WRLR.
Getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy so we don't miss out on what matters. Like that family movie night your daughter can't live without. Yeah, can't do that. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 FM. I'm Marty Love, the host of Bacon Bits with Master Happiness.
And I'm not alone.
You're not?
I am not. I'm here with my bestest buddy, Tiffany. There you go.
We've all got reasons to be scared, angry, or sad. Happiness is outnumbered 3-1. Give us a little bit of your time, and we'll see if we can give you a reason to smile. That's Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, Monday nights at 7 p.m.
Isn't it nice?
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Welcome back to the Sports Corner with the Sports Guys for a Saturday morning, one of those cloudy mornings, 25 degrees. We'll say 35 for a high today. I'm looking for sunshine. I'm not buying it. I don't think it's going to happen. And then back to the 20s tonight. Tomorrow, warmer. Hey, we'll be in the 40s. Rain coming into the picture, though, for Monday. And a little bit warmer, but not bad. This is still above normal, so you got to be appreciative of this. I never expected us to go into the new year with lack of snow. And we've only had, 4 inches this whole year, so it's pretty good.
We've ducked the big snow so far, but we know it's coming.
Well,
that left hook is coming.
1 or 2 to get back to where you're supposed to be.
I know. And we still got the rest of January. We got February. We got March.
And look out next week, like I said.
We might even have April.
Yeah, I hate saying it. You feel like they're just going longer, and everything. So.
I was going to say, you can't judge the seasons by what we're seeing.
Nope. Because we're really not the dead of winter until next week.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
so we
true.
still have half of it to go.
We do.
Oh, boy. Well, let's go to the hardwood. Last night we had a basketball game over at Libertyville High School. Not too many boys' games last night, only a couple on the schedule because of Martin Luther King this weekend. There are some big games to talk about on the boys' side, but I want to talk about the girls here first because that game last night was outstanding. Great basketball when you're talking about Stevenson, Libertyville. Typical battle between two teams, grinding it out, knocking each other over, trying to find their way to the basket. Don knows what I'm talking about. So does Rob. When you put Libertyville and Stevenson together, it is something. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a battle. You know that when you were at Libertyville. Yeah. Every time you had to compete against Stevenson, wasn't there smack talk during the week?
Oh, the locker room the week before was pretty fun.
But this year, it's
coach talking.
I got to give the nod to Libertyville. They've been the dominant dog, and they showed up again and showed that they were the dominant dog last night. I know. Okay, I'm sorry, Stevenson fans. But they were game last night. But you saw the mettle and the determination in the Libertyville team last night. Emily Fisher hitting that buzzer beater, that was really exciting.
Wait, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we have.
Hey, go ahead.
The game happened last night.
Yeah, I know that, but we were getting to the point of that because this game was something because Libertyville really led the entire way. Okay, Stevenson had the first bucket. Libertyville took over the lead, up by 8, 10 points. Stevenson's crawling their way back. Emily Clegg, great player, 22 points, dozen rebounds. She's going to get a lot of looks from the NCAA. A lot of D1 schools are looking after. Only a junior right now, not even committed. She carries the team for Stevenson with their defense and gets a 4-point lead, 38-34, down to the final minute of the game. And on just a few possessions, Libertyville takes over defensively, one on a turnover, another one with a jump ball. They get the ball back. Emily Fisher sinks 2 free throws, makes a layup, and then with the game tied, they had to take a couple of timeouts. They work a play in with 5.7 seconds left, which Kate Rule had, and then she sent the ball over to Emily Fisher. Emily Fisher, with 2 people in front of her, throws up this 18-foot shot, and it goes right in the basket to win the game, and the buzzer sounds.
Yeah, but, it's from my point of view, vantage point where I was, 2 timeouts occurred. They stopped 2 stoppages of play. You knew Emily Fisher, who is basically their all-stater, and some people say all-American level player, because I can tell you she was recruited by Clemson. She decided finally, but she was recruited by Clemson. She's
going to Maryland.
She's going to Maryland, but all 3 of those coaches were there.
She had several options.
Because I was there when they showed up and came to the front desk. And and to a practice. That had to be about 2 years ago, really. So anyway, my point was that she's been recognized as that caliber of a player. Maybe a couple of years ago, even by her own admission, maybe she wasn't as polished a player. But she certainly is now. She took the burden of that on her back and made the winning shot.
And guess what? I got an opportunity to talk to her after the game. This is what she had to say about making that big shot. Final stretches of the game. You scored the last 6 points.
Well, obviously I had foul trouble, so I was in and out of the game. But the goal was to get a score stopper to score, which is the 4 points we needed. And then we didn't know if we were going to be able to get the shot off at the end. We were more worried about just keeping it and then maybe doing overtime. But he said if we were going to shoot, it'd be last second. And so I just kind of took that chance. I didn't think I was going to get the ball at all that last possession. But
was the ball supposed to be for you?
It was either for me or Kate Rule. Obviously got to her because the double team I didn't think I was going to get anyways. But she had a girl really tight on her. I just came running around.
So when you got the ball, what were you kind of thinking, looking? What was on your mind?
I just knew I had to shoot it. I wasn't going to be able to drive because they've been packing in the whole time. And they were kind of laying off once I came around that screen. So.
And when you kind of set it up and let it go, what did you see?
There was just hands in my face. I had no idea if it was going to go in or not. I just knew it was straight, so I was hoping for the best.
What does it mean to win a game at the buzzer against Stevenson? And you beat them twice now this season. What does that mean to you?
I mean, this is what I was excited for this year. It was my last year. We haven't been beating Stevenson in the past few years, and it just feels great to actually do so this year as a team.
I'm going to bring something back. When we talked, when you decided to go to Maryland, when we first talked about that, you said you're a winner. You said Maryland's a winner. You're a winner out here. How does it feel? You matched something here from, a year and a half ago, if I remember correctly.
I feel like I've just grown since last year. I have way more confidence this year. I probably wouldn't have taken that last year for sure. And it's just, I wanted to win. That's what I want to do for sure.
Congratulations. Nice shot, nice victory. Great job. All right, there you go. And, that's the one thing that hit me a little bit. And Don, and you and I have talked about this, about Emily Fisher. Her composure, able to grow up a little bit more. Yeah, she's a great player, but she made the statement, I wouldn't have made that shot last year, and I made it this year. And she's learned to take herself to another step, another level, as she's getting ready for college.
Yeah, I think she's going to play for Brenda Fries at Maryland, who's the head coach there. Brenda came in and, she related to her right away. You could see that. And just as you mentioned, when she was a freshman, she was kind of a tough, physical player, not as polished as she is as a senior. So you definitely see the evolution in her play and the fact that she was patient with the ball. Because Kate Rule had the ball on the right wing, and I looked over at somebody, I said, I know who's taking the last shot. It's got to be Emily Fisher. Well, Kate Rule was just calm, patting the basketball on the right side of the court, and Emily came over to her. She handed her the ball. She went left and shot the ball in rhythm. and it was beautiful to watch. There was no hesitation, and it was like she had done it all the time. You know what I mean? It was beautiful to watch, and certainly it was it's significant from the standpoint it's an evolution in her game. I know she plays on outside the team as well, on other teams, like all-star teams. So she is playing herself into becoming a polished player. Besides being a skillful athlete, she's combining that with being a polished player now. Mm-hmm. And you could see the patience on knowing when to react and when to take over that game.
And Emily Fisher, she had 14 points last night. She's sitting 9 points away from being the top scorer in Libertyville history in girls basketball. She is that close. I was hoping she'd get to 23 last night, but I didn't think it was possible in a game like that. But a great effort. One name we didn't mention here tonight is the sister of Kate Rule, and that's Rachel Rule. She played a game last night that it might have been one of the best games I've seen her play in the last couple of years. She stood out defensively, hit some timely shots from three-point range, layups. She was a nuisance in Stevenson's game. And believe it or not, Libertyville had to wake up. I don't know if we realize this. They had lost to Lake Zurich. We talked about how Lake Zurich would be a foe in this conference. They might be the top team right now. Libertyville had a tough challenge against Lake Zurich earlier in the week, and it was on Wednesday. They lost 42-34. So to come back after this game, even Greg Peterson, as we talked to him, said that we had to kind of play better basketball than what we did with Lake Zurich. Well, Coach, great game, great finish. The way you ended the game, what are your thoughts getting this victory and to beat Stevenson twice?
Well, we had a disappointing game on Wednesday night against Lake Zurich, and our team felt like we didn't play well, and we really, more than practice on Tuesday or on Wednesday, Thursday, the day after, we watched film. And we broke things down, and people were exposed in that Lake Zurich game for inadequate defense especially. And the other thing was we just had been getting off to slow starts in games, and today was totally different. The energy was there, the defense was there. Emery Klatt had 22 points, and I feel like we played strong defense on her. That's how good she is. And just a great response to getting that one conference loss. This is what you want to see out of your team, so I'm really happy.
Speaking of Emery Klatt with her 22 points, she took over in that fourth quarter, built a 4-point lead. Yeah. And in the last minute, your best player, Emily, comes up, Emily Fisher, and kind of takes over the team to lead you to the victory.
For us, it was a matter of getting scores and stops and scores, which is just something that we believe strongly in, and we preach it to the kids. And in the huddle, when we were down 4, we wanted to set something up, and we said, if we score, all you have to do is get a stop. You get one stop, and we can come down and get a chance to score again. And what ended up happening was a score, stop, score, stop, score. And that is just a feeling of elation because they work really hard. I know Stevenson obviously works really hard too, but the kids, their work, everything that they put into it, I think, that elation that you saw at the end, it's just a really good feeling.
What does this say to you about Emily Fisher? I know we've talked about it a lot, but you want, the player going to Maryland to be the one to get a winning shot, but to be the team leader in something like this.
Yeah, she. You saw that even on the last out of bounds play, she had 2 people trailing her. So. The key to our team is that Emily's fantastic and she's amazing, and then that we have other players on the floor who can score when she gets double teamed. Last year we didn't really have that so much, and we struggled at times, and this year those other 4 kids have stepped up and they are offensive threats. So Fisher's amazing. She's good. What did she have today, do you know?
14.
Okay, so she is 9 points away from being the all-time leading scorer for Libertyville history.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say, let's throw in Rachel Rule, the effort she had on the court. I mean, she was all over aggressively on defense, causing havoc for Stevenson.
She really did. We put Rachel on the other team's best guard, and it's a tall challenge, and every day when the game's over, she's exhausted because of everything that we ask her to do. And that's one of those unsung things that people don't know and she's an MVP of the team because of the defense she plays on the perimeter, whereas we ask Maddie Kapala to play defense on the inside on the other team's best post player, and those two just do a great job for us.
All right, thanks, Coach. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
All right, there you go from Greg Peterson, pretty happy coach on that. It's fun when you hear coaches talk about the unsung heroes, like Rachel Rule. And those are the players that don't get the credibility, maybe in the box score, in the papers. I mentioned it because I saw it too. I saw what he saw out there. And it's all the little intangibles that turn out big things to get you victories in high school games.
He's building something good there, and I want to give some play to underline the play of Talia Tillman, who was Peanut Tillman's daughter, by the way, but it has nothing to do with it. She played hard. She's a junior. She plays in the post. She's very athletic. She got off to a quick start, scoring points early in the game, which I think helped Libertyville. And then Madison Sears, who is a center who had, her sister played there. Tammy Sears played at Northwestern, and she's, in that same mold, and she's only a sophomore at 6'2". So you've got two young players in the post and the Rule sisters that'll be back next year.
And by the way, Tillman had 7 points and about 7 rebounds and a couple of steals. She really did a pretty good job battling with Emery Clant, even though she got 22. But they couldn't handle, and they doubled her up. And that's one thing I noticed about Stevenson is Klatt is a great player, and she's been seeing double teams, triple teams. She's had some tough times in the last month. And Stevenson had a 3-game losing streak that started with Libertyville that beat them by 20-something points at Stevenson. Then they lost to Huntley, and they lost somebody else, so there was a 3-game losing streak. But since then, Ashley Graham, the head coach from Stevenson, told me they turned things around. They won 6 of their last 7. Their only loss going to Barrington at Dundee Crown. So they had things going their way, but they're missing like an Ava Bardick. You remember her from last year, good outside shooter from Stevenson. She's not around this year. They've got some younger players stepping up. They've tried to work around. They got a younger player comes off the bench. Roseland is her last name. I really like her ability, the way she drives to the hoop. And that's a good added touch for Stevenson, but they fought their way back in this game, and even Ashley Grant thought they were going to pull this out. Well, I know it was a great battle between both teams.
Yeah.
You expected it that way.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts after seeing what happened?
Just really proud of us for coming back from being down, right? You're down the whole game, and then you weather that storm in the fourth quarter, so that was really exciting. But you know what? It's kind of the story. If you go to our 7 losses, 5 of them now have been by a total of 12 points. And, we've had losses just like that this year. And, we just got to continue to get back practicing and handling pressure and finishing the basketball games. But, these kids are resilient, and they're going to choose to, hold their heads up high and stick together, which is the right thing to do. And we'll weather it. We're going to figure it out. Still, it's not a season ender, thank goodness. But, a really good kid made a really good shot. But there were things prior to that shot that, we certainly want to do better and shore up.
Emily Clant. Emily Clant did a great job, especially in that fourth quarter. She had, 9 of her 19 points, getting balls off the rebounds, really carried the team to get that lead.
Well, that's how it's been all year. She's carried us offensively, and then obviously with her rebounding, just tremendous second jump and second bounce. But she gives everything she's got. We ask kids to empty the tank, and she definitely does that. And sometimes, like tonight, it just wasn't enough. But she certainly gave everything she had, and we'll weather the storm and come back, super hungry.
All right. Well, good luck over the weekend. Yeah, there you go. That's a great talk there with Ashley Graham, the head coach from Stevenson. I feel for her. I know the Stevenson team's good. Don't forget, they're the reigning champions from last year, too.
Well, that's what made it even better that Libertyville stepped up. That's what you saw. It wasn't that Stevenson didn't play well. They played well enough to win. You heard it in the coach's voice. But Libertyville's star stepped up when needed because she wanted to win, and she would do anything to win, and she did. And in the first game, it wasn't close. This game was close, but they still dug deep and did what they had to do to win to get the W. And that's a good sign of a team. There's balance there. There's a lot of balance.
This is an interesting weekend. There's a big shootout coming up this weekend. Stevenson is going to take part in this shootout coming up on Monday. And guess who they play on Monday? You ready for this? Carmel. Mm-hmm. And you wish you had this matchup at the end of last year because Carmel won the state championship in 3A. Stevenson won 4A. So now you got the matchup to finally play each other on Monday. Still, both teams have talented players. Klatt's there for Stevenson. You got Jordan Wood, who's there for Carmel, who's going to Michigan State next year. And both teams are having some great seasons. You're talking, 30-plus victories between both teams. This will be a lot of fun coming up on Monday. Libertyville's going to take on Kenwood in this shootout, which I think it's in Lyle. I'm not exactly sure where this is at. But
probably the Bulls White Sox Academy. That's where it is.
Something I believe that it is. But Libertyville's going to take on Kenwood. They're highly ranked. That's going to be a nice matchup for the Wildcats coming off this win last night. By the way, Maine South will take on Carmel today in a matchup. So Carmel's got two quality opponents coming up here. Maine South beat New Trier last night, 65-48. And I'm hearing a lot of great things coming out of Maine South right now, the way they're playing basketball. They've been playing awfully strong against a lot of opponents. I think they lost to Barrington or beat Barrington, one of the two at the Dundee Crown tournament, the holiday tournament coming off the off the winter break, the holiday break. I do want to mention one other thing. Peyton Gerdes continues to score points for Grayslake North. They're finding a way to get wins in the NLCC. She is averaging 20 to 25 points a game right now for Grayslake North. So an impressive season for her, and she continues to play some very good basketball. I also want to give some shout-outs not only to also to Lake Zurich. They're playing this weekend as well. They're playing good basketball. We mentioned they beat Libertyville. Lake Forest playing some good basketball. They continue to look pretty good this week. They beat Wakanda the other night, 42-35. And I talked with Ashley Graham back on Monday, and I asked her the question, is the North Suburban Conference one of the best conferences in the state? And she totally said flat out, think about all the teams I just mentioned. 4 or 5 teams that are very competitive. Even though Mundelein isn't there yet. Warren's got a Hall of Fame coach. You got 6 teams outside of Zion and Waukegan right now that are very good out of the 8. That tells you a lot, that they're really competitive every night. It's not an easy victory. You got to go out there and play. And I think girls basketball is a lot stronger than the boys' side right now. And if you want to say top 5, you got to put right now at this point Lake Zurich, Libertyville, Stevenson, Carmel, and then probably Deerfield in that mix. That's 5 quality teams. I didn't even mention the Warriors, and they'll go Class 3A. So very good. Lake Forest is trying to get in that mix. That's 6 really good teams. On the boys' side, the North Suburban Conference, there's a big game coming up here tonight. And you might want to go out there and catch this game over at Stevenson, because Libertyville and Stevenson will meet up. This is a 5:30 game this evening. Good matchup, the only North Suburban Conference game because the MLK tournaments that are going on this weekend. Libertyville and Stevenson both are unbeaten in the conference. Don and Rob and I all know this is going to be a good matchup between these two teams. They've been playing really good. Libertyville's been playing awfully well. They won the tournament over at Wheeling Harwood. Stevenson won 3 out of 4 games at the Hinsdale Central Tournament. So this will be a great matchup this evening. You want to see a game tonight? Go over to Stevenson between these two teams, Wildcats and the Patriots. It should be a barn burner. I don't know who's going to win it, but I'll tell you one thing. One team's going to have the leg up in the conference right now.
Well, the thing that you see out of Libertyville's basketball, both their teams are ascending, and they're playing their best basketball. When you look at Libertyville, they got a big front line. Aiden Boone, who happens to be Alfonso Boone's son, is one of their post players, a former Bear player, offensive lineman. And this guy's huge. And he's got a really soft touch. And then you're talking about Bonder in the low block, I believe Chase Bonder. So when you put 2 big guys like 6'5", 6'7" in the low block that can shoot it and run the floor, it's going to give teams a problem. And then they have experienced guard play. So a lot like the girls, they have a lot of balance. So not one player is going to beat you, and they're playing good defense. Put those things together, and you got a good team.
All right. Want to mention on Thursday, Lake Forest got by Mundelein 55-54. Lake Zurich over Waukegan by a score of 58-42. Earlier this week, on Wednesday, was the matchup between the unbeatens in the NLCC, which Grayslake Central beat Lakes by 10, 55-45. Other winners turned out to be Antioch over Grant. Grayslake North beat Round Lake, and Wakanda was able to win a game on the road at North Chicago. This weekend are those MLK tournaments. Oh, before I jump to that, I got to mention the Central Suburban North last night that Deerfield beat Vernon Hills 46-37. Highland Park took a 1-point loss to Maine West. Niles North still leading the way in the Central Suburban North right now over Deerfield. Looks like a 2-team race, at least at the moment, but Niles North has not lost a game yet. The games coming up here today, non-conference-wise. First, Vernon Hills at Cary Grove at 3 this afternoon. Palatine at Lake Zurich at 3:30. Niles North at Zion Benton at 5:30. And Barrington at Grant at 3:30. Lakes has a tournament, an MLK tournament. Waukegan takes on Naperville Central at 10. Mundelein and Highland Park at 11:30. Lakes and Fremd at 1 o'clock. That could be an interesting matchup because Lakes is playing very well. And then Grayslake North will play Glenbrook North at 2:30. That could be interesting. I think Glenbrook North probably a little bit better than Grayslake North's level. Yeah. But it could be a good matchup between the two teams. Over at Deerfield and Lake Forest, they're also having an MLK tournament this weekend with those different series of teams. The game I'm looking at is coming up this morning at 11 o'clock. Grayslake Central will take on Lake Forest, and Deerfield and Peyton Prep will be at 11 o'clock. They'll have 2 games today, and then where you place in the tournament, because these are 16-team tournaments, and then they'll just keep moving in the bracket. So you're really kind of playing 2 today and 2 on Monday. North Chicago will be at a tournament at Thornton Fractional South. They're taking on Don Bosco of Indiana at 2:30 tomorrow. Then on Monday, North Chicago will play Perspectives Lead. And then there's going to be other games at Deerfield. Antioch will take on Julian at Hyde Park. I thought that was an interesting
Perspectives, that's where Anthony Davis is from, right?
Warren will play 2 games today at Wheaton Warrenville South, and then 2 more on Monday, depending on where they place with the games here today. So that gives you the list. Also, I want to take a shout-out to the Stevenson boys bowling team. They won their conference last weekend. This weekend, they're starting regionals as we speak. They just started about a little more than a half hour or so ago with a lot of teams from the Lake County area, the regional. And you'll get 4 teams out of the 12 that are there. We'll move on to the sectional, which will be out in Rockford next week. That is a tough task, always, because those Rockford schools, they have nothing better to do out there, do they? It's bowling, it's the ice hogs, maybe going to the mall. That's it. They don't do much in the wintertime out in Rockford.
Bowling is big in Rockford. I know the PBA, Pro Bowlers Association, has a lot of their tournaments in Rockford. Used to.
Well, the women still have it at Cherry Bowl out there, which is part of the mall. I
might be doing some kegling tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact.
Oh, boy. You're hurting me.
I might have to sub.
Oh, boy.
In a league.
Pretty impressive, I got to say, with the Libertyville boys basketball, 11-game win streak. Will Booker, that guard, is playing great ball.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to hit the break. We'll come back. We got still a lot of stuff to talk about in the next half hour. We got some soccer stuff to talk about. NWSL draft was the other night. Some news with the Chicago Fire, believe it or not. The Bulls, I got some stuff to talk about that because they're going nowhere fast. DeMar DeRozan is out. Blackhawks, hey, actually winning this past week. And then we'll get the golf clubs out. Talk about nice Hawaiian golf.
I want Balboa. I want Balboa.
Back after the break here on the Sports Corner with the Sports Guys.
Dead meat.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
WRLR is community radio.
I feel much more informed with what's happening today.
When we say community, we really mean it.
It's not like corporate, and it's just a good station, you know?
We don't belong to some large corporation that makes a profit from this station.
Because I like the diversity.
And listeners won't be forced to listen to large blocks of advertising. Operations at community radio stations are made possible through grants and underwriting from companies within this area of operation. And donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next door neighbor talking to me, only he's on the radio instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.FM. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5, right here on WRLR.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
What's it like to walk in the shoes of a Navy SEAL, a beekeeper, a rabbi, a dentist, a ghost hunter, or a professional clown? Join me, Jim Wunderlich, on Word of Mouth, Thursday mornings from 11 a.m. to noon, and hear their stories. Captivating guests from a wide range of professions sharing a behind-the-curtain view of their jobs. Jobs such as an interrogator from Guantanamo, a private chef, a film director, a doctor, an orchestra conductor, a college basketball coach.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Welcome back to the Sports Corner. Sports Guys for a Saturday morning. Oh, we're having fun in here today. Not fun outside. It's only 25 degrees outside.
Could have fooled me. No, it's kidding.
Sure, always have fun with the Sports Corner. You know that. Always.
We didn't argue much today.
Well, thank goodness.
There's still time.
Yeah, that's right.
Bruce,
We still got 25 minutes.
We argue
get into
it, Don. Up to 35 today, the 20s tonight, and then, hey, how about 40s tomorrow? Rain coming into the picture by Monday.
We could use some.
Let's talk soccer. I'm thinking outdoors.
All right.
You know, last hour we started the show talking about baseball already, but soccer is around the corner. The NWSL is going to have their start of their season coming up down the road here. World Cup year, too, by the way. To talk about Women's World Cup. We'll get into that later on.
That follows right after the year after?
No, it'll be in the summertime.
Okay.
And they'll take a small break, I think, on the schedule, but not as much as you think. So you're going to have a lot of reserves.
The World Cup is the year after the men's then?
Yes.
Okay, always has been.
Yeah, okay. It's coming up this year.
I thought maybe it was like every 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Red Stars lost a lot of players for free agency this year. They have problems in the midfield. So they got to come up with some midfielders. They went into the draft. It's 4 rounds. They made some moves within the draft. They picked up, I think they picked up some good players, good young players. We'll see where they go. They've got a forward out of Penn State, Penelope Hooking is one. She scored a number of goals for Penn State. What did she have? 20 and 23 matches. She scored 7 goals, 11 assists. So we'll see where she fits in as second-team All-American. Grace Yoakum, a midfielder out of Oklahoma State University. I'm sure Mike will be happy with that. Ellie Schlegel, another Penn State University forward, which is going to help this team. They picked her up in the 3rd round. And then Sophie Jones, a midfielder out of Duke. So they picked up a bunch of midfielders. Will it work? Will it help?
At least I know what the positions are in soccer. That's about all.
Will they help us?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Like I said, they lost a number of players, and they need help in the midfield. They could use another scorer. They got Mallory Swanson now because she married Darby Swanson. Instead of being Mallory Pugh, now it's Swanson. So she'll be the leading scorer up top. You know, you got a couple other players that can help out, but they need help in the midfield. Losing, Danielle Colaprico, she's more of a defensive midfielder. Vanessa DiBernardo, there's another player that's been with the team for 10 years. She went off to Angel FC, so they need some players to help out. These were mainstays, too.
Man, I have no problem figuring out the rules of soccer, let alone anything else.
Actually, another thing to bring up here quickly is that the NWSL Players Association, the league, came out this past week with a statement of, remember all the misconduct and everything? They've said now for the coaches, owners, and they named Rory Dames and Whistler, could not get jobs back in the league again with all the misconduct that they had. And they've had a big letter that was sent out and put forth in the media.
So is that an admission of harassment?
Well, yeah, that was based on the misconduct and the harassment.
What I'm saying is,
I don't know that it's that.
Yeah, because I don't know if it is legally, but certainly it speaks to the issue that the girls, the athletes, the women, the young women, I shouldn't call them girls because they're young women, have been pressuring the league because that's been an ongoing thing. We've seen a 30 for 30 series in there. Yeah. And, they've been running that thing, and the girls have been giving interviews. The young women are giving interviews, I'm sorry. And
you know what it's like, Don? It's like when a company does something wrong and they pay it off, but they don't admit guilt. Mm-hmm. That's
this is big. This is big news. And I said this before.
It's the future of the league.
The Players Association themselves have kind of taken over the league, and they've set a standard here, which is good to push that stuff out. We know that. That's a good thing.
I don't know that the players taking over the...
That's what I'm wondering.
Your fear is killing the golden goose. I get, you've expressed that before.
Yeah, I know what he's saying, but that's like the inmates running the asylum.
Well, it is, but I think it's because it's such a systemic problem that they have to address it in some way. Because otherwise it's going to fall apart. The ladies will not accept it anymore.
I don't know that taking over the responsibility of the league, though, by Players Association is a good idea. They just need to fire whoever needs to be fired and
they need to have somebody representative of their voice. That's the key.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Right. Here's our representative. You do what you need to do to fix this, but we're not going to take over the responsibility.
Here are grievances. Fix them, please.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
That's a better
Who's your association president?
Otherwise,
are they representing the players?
You said by taking over, you set a wrong precedent here.
Yeah. I think you're right because you can't tell the owners how to run something.
Right.
That's overstepping your bounds.
Well, you do that and you'll wind up with no league.
Right. Exactly.
That's exactly. It'll just fold up and that's the end of it.
What she just said. That's its fear.
The Chicago Fire have made some moves this week, picking up some players. They have a new goalkeeper. John Gall that they picked up out of the Swedish league.
Now, that's the team you should be upset with.
Now, they also acquired a defender, Jonathan Dean. They're picking up players, from these European leagues, but are they good? They let go of a few. They're picking up a few. They got a new technical director that they threw in. They are going to start preseason in another week or so. I know they're coming in for physicals this next week. They did, but they start up very quickly. I mean, the season starts by the end of February, early March.
Wait, when does it end?
It ends by end of October, early November.
I don't understand why they can't get a better fix on who the top players are to bring them here. I don't understand. That boggles my mind, but maybe there's something more than meets the eye.
Money issue?
No, I think they're in a trend here over the last 10 years. Instead of having players to try to build and get the chemistry, if they don't see fit, they dump them out and they try to bring other players in to get the chemistry instead of building from within and getting players that can stay longer. It's the same thing with the coaches.
Is there the equivalent? I'm showing my ignorance.
You're asking my question.
Is there equivalent of a feeder team?
There you go. Thank you.
Because we're thinking like normal people.
They do have one. They do have it with the.
Where's the minor leagues?
That's right.
They have some with the USL. They picked up a couple players. They also have their next two program the last couple of years that they built up. It's just they're trying to get younger. The league is getting younger, but the Chicago Fire, can they get with the same level with other teams in the league?
The league is not efficient.
Yeah, it's like here's my sticking point. If I want to try to follow it, I don't know who the face of the league is. I don't know who's the player. I want to say, I know who that is. Oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. I can't say
You're
that
absolutely
now.
right. I never thought of it that way.
I can't say that.
They keep adding
when you say MLS, Tell me what you know.
It's kind of
I don't
nebulous
know.
to me. Yeah, it's like, okay.
It's a soccer league. That's all I can tell you.
That's all.
Well, we know LAFC was the team that won the championship. Did we know
Well, you do,
much?
but
I do, I follow
Yeah, but how
it.
many do?
We're not. You're going to watch it no matter what. We're talking about the casual observer.
I brain dead
I
when it
can't
comes to
even
that.
say a name. I can't even tell you a name. That's bad. When I can't even say one name.
Ooh, that's getting like the Blackhawks.
Well, yeah.
I know 2 names.
Well, I just want to mention they will start preseason coming up. They're going down to Mexico for a couple of weeks, and they're also going to play in a tournament in Arizona, and they start the season. They will have their kickoff luncheon, by the way, February 27th downtown. I'm hoping to be there so we can find out what we expect, kind of like the Cubs convention, what you expect from the coaching to players for the upcoming season. They will have 500 guests there that will donate to their organization. But they will have some fanfare. You will also have a chance to meet the players, and we get a chance to see what we expect for the upcoming season.
Do they have like a convention?
I was going to say,
It's kinda like it's a
is there
luncheon.
any connection with local high school soccer at all?
Oh, they've got a big thing with the city, but
who knows that?
Well, the city schools do. But is it
Reach
big
out
enough?
to the suburbs.
I agree.
Reach out to Illinois.
That's what they should do. Go back to the suburbs, I believe. But
Or even like the Blackhawks, they bought those 2 rinks in the city, and now teams actually go there and practice and play. One's more the Blackhawks rink, the other one is more open to the public. I would think that would be easy to do with soccer.
Well, they've got the fire pitch. They're building in the city in another area, but the Chicago fire pitch right by where WGN is, and
But
it's down the road
what
there.
I'm saying is, being not much of a soccer fan, what are you going to do to get me to be one?
Exactly.
And I don't see it.
I don't either.
I think everything is product on the field. We've talked about that. They gotta
I don't
have
know that
product
that's
on-
no. I don't think so. I don't think. It doesn't seem like the promotion is there.
No,
that we agree.
Can't. I just can't even say one name. I can't tell you even
All
one
right.
name.
Let's talk a little bit about basketball, the NBA. Chicago Bulls, I think, are having a problem. DeMar DeRozan went down earlier this week with a
the gas
quad
pipe
injury
again last night.
And I am getting, I hate to say it, I'm getting a little bit disturbed on what's going on with the coaching because, earlier this week, the way Donovan, you had a big lead against Washington. You got outscored 42-21 in the third quarter. You're right there in the game. Gave up a great 3-point shot. I'll give credit for Kuzma hitting it. So you got, an ample amount of time to set up a last-second shot. And Zach LaVine, instead of taking a 3-pointer, whittles his way through 2 guys trying to get a foul, which you need 3 points, not 2.
What you just did there,
then he
Rusty.
got totally lost. And then, the media kind of razzed straight down on Billy Donovan at the end of that game because I think, I hate to say it, I'm getting this feeling that Billy Donovan's losing this game.
No, I'm not at all. I'll tell you what's wrong with this team. This team is not a smart basketball team. Period.
Well,
they're not smart basketball
I'll
players.
just say this. I thought they were actually playing better defense to me. The last few games I saw, this game was out of hand.
Right.
But the 2 or 3 before that, I saw good team defense. I saw DeMar DeRozan hustling, getting in the lane. I saw Ayo Dosunmu come back and block Kevin Durant's. They had him double teamed, and Ayo Dosunmu came behind him and blocked
But that
him.
was when they were playing well. They won like 7 of 10 games. Now they've lost 3 straight games, and they lost to Oklahoma City last night. They were swept by Oklahoma City this year. They lost by 13, but they really weren't in the game. They were close at one point.
So you got to give Oklahoma City their due.
They're
not
stride.
bad.
No,
Oklahoma City gets a bad.
To me, it seems like Zach is paid as a max player, but he's not a max player.
You're right.
Well, I'm going to say that I see him changing his game. I see him making the effort. I kind of disagree with you guys on that. Surprise, surprise. But yes.
There's our disagreement. We finally got it in. Huh?
Yeah, I know. There it is. A little jousting there. I think that he is pushing guys like Nikola Vukovic and Patrick Williams to step up their game. I see that in him. I see
Williams
him
is playing
trying to share the ball. I see him doing that, which in years past, he wouldn't even looked at them suckers. He'd jack up the shot and just jog the other way.
But I think what we could agree on, we could probably all agree on this, is there needs to be some changes. This team obviously cannot play well together. Well, you have to figure out what it is that's not right and get rid of it.
They've got a tough task because they do have the Warriors that are coming to town tomorrow. By the way, the Warriors, I'm going to throw this quickly, they played out in the Alamo Dome last night against San Antonio, won like 144-113, but they had 68,000 fans for this game. Broke the record. What a great fan base. And Curry's back this past.
I heard this question posed on a couple of radio stations. Does the NBA not have defense? Because too many people are scoring.
I heard about this.
There is no defense in the NBA.
71 points.
I think it's a mixture of these players are, one, they're always taught that it's a more offensive game now.
Yeah, so
they're focusing on the offense. They're focusing on the threes, and I think they're more talented.
No, actually,
now.
Michael Jordan had
are they really
60-point
I
games.
think
are they really?
I think the majority.
Defense?
I think the majority, like how the majority.
Hey guys, we brought this up last couple of weeks. Nowadays, you got 8 players averaging over 30 points a game. 10 years ago, nobody averaged 30 points a game.
Yeah.
The game has changed, more individual, lack of defense.
The three-point shot changed the game.
That's what it's been changed for years.
Absolutely.
And they're not playing defense to me.
Defense.
Yeah,
it looks like every night looks like an NBA All-Star game, if you ask me. Where they're not playing defense and they're just jacking up.
I think it's fun to watch.
I like scoring. I'm all for that. But I like to see a little jousting, too. I want to see a guy put his hand check the guy, not give up space in the low block, and make it,
I want to That's why a player like Giannis is so valuable, because he
does all of that.
You can argue he's the best offensive player and defensive player.
He certainly gives you the work.
All right,
what I want to see is an offensive player go to the basket, not make it, and stop looking at the referee for a foul.
The Bucks, by the way, will take on the Miami Heat. They've had an up and down week. They've had some players sitting out. Just like all the teams lately have been doing. Oh, yeah, let's sit players out here and there. And I hate that. I really do.
How about that performance the other night? Jimmy Bucket's perfect from the free throw line.
Actually, the whole team went perfect, 40 for 40.
Exactly.
And that's only the third time that's ever happened in NBA history.
My God.
Well, the trade deadline is February 8th, right?
I mean, if someone gets his 100% from the free throw line, you're not going to be able to beat that team.
No.
Not really.
Because those are
that's just
free points.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think the trade deadline is February 8th, and I'd be willing to bet the ranch that there's going to be some trades on the Bulls. They're going to move some players.
We'll see where that goes. Hey, golf time.
Vooch's going to be gone.
Golf last week, Kapalua. How about John Rahm coming out of nowhere in the final round? It's rats. Let me say it that way for Colin Morikawa. He did not have a bogey at all during the whole tournament.
Yeah, why do you think I took
And
him?
he fell apart at the end. You know why? I heard this. He had changed his chipping to more of a flatter approach, and it just completely went away from him.
He played it. He
went too flat.
You know what he did? He became Greg Norman.
Oh, I don't know how you lose a 6-shot lead.
Greg Norman lost to 7 in the Masters.
Oh, but I'll tell you, John Rahm, he's impressive and big win last week. Yes, I'm excited because I had John Rahm, of course, and who had Morikawa last week? I think it was Paul that had him. So let's go through the Sony Open. 2 rounds are in the books, still in Hawaii. That's
Hawaii?
On Oahu. What?
Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii. Well, it's still on Oahu now instead of being on one of the other islands. More of a flatter course, by the way. Chris Kirk, not Captain Kirk, leading the way at 11 under par.
Admiral Kirk.
That one, too. Taylor Montgomery and J.J. Spawn, who was in the running last week for a while until he fell apart in the final round. Their best shot back, you got Hayden Buckley at 9 under, David Lipsky at 9 under, Ben Taylor, Austin Eckert, and Si Young Kim. I don't think I said that completely right. And this guy, Denny McCarthy, no relation to Mike McCarthy, also in the mix. Don, you get first pick.
I'm going with Christopher Brandon Kirk.
You want to go
the
with
leader at -11.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Captain.
Kirk,
Bruce.
Scotty, have a team of beamed up immediately.
I'm going with Montgomery.
Thank you, Captain.
You want to go with Montgomery?
Montgomery, yeah.
Captain, the
Any
transporter's
relation to
ready.
Colin Montgomery, I was thinking?
No.
Mike wants to go with J.J. Spawn. Didn't we give him last week, too?
I gave that to Mike.
Yeah, and he's going to take him this week. Believe it or not.
If we were fishing, that would be a great day.
Very perchy.
Well, he's going to go. Let's see. Paul wanted Kirk. He wanted Montgomery. He wanted Spawn. All taken. He's going to go with Kim. Which is...
Figures. No, I'm just kidding. I had no idea.
That's that nice long name that I tried to say that I couldn't get it.
What Cody?
Try it.
That leaves me because I got the last pick here.
Yeah. Boo. Where's my...
I almost want to go with our Northbrook native, Nick Hardy. Had a great round yesterday. 63s at 6 under. But I'm really thinking here... Boy, Jordan Spieth he's not even in there. He's not even there.
I know. Failed me last week. I can tell you.
I'm gonna go Chez Ravi. He's down at 6 under par. No, he had 2 consistent rounds, 66, 67. He also plays very well out there in Hawaii. Well, we got a quick minute or two. Blackhawks playing a little better this week.
Ooh, they beat Colorado.
Well, they got their goaltender back, and I think that's got something to do with this. They also getting scoring from different players. I don't know why. All of a sudden, they've got in this realm here. They've won, 3 of their last 4 games? Yeah, including an overtime win the other night. And they beat Colorado, too.
They're
the most exciting team in Chicago.
Well, it's good to see them playing a little better because they had a worst stretch I've ever seen in 2 months.
We have some bad teams in Chicago right now.
Nothing going on in Chicago right now.
The Bulls aren't good. The Hawks aren't good. The Cubs weren't. Well, the Cubs were better, but the Sox were bad.
Yeah.
Fire was bad.
I think we had a former WRLR team right now.
No, they would be bad. They would be bad.
The Sky was pretty good.
The Sky is falling.
Yeah,
apparently they did fall this year. Yeah, you're right.
But they're still pretty good. Red Stars are pretty good. They lost a lot.
Major sport. I have to say major. I'll upset him.
Yeah, you will.
It's still
He's going to throw something at you. You better duck when you say that.
You take the major 4 sports in this town. They're bad, and bad.
Well, it's like the 70s. Remember how bad the 70s
Tell me what
were.
you really feel, bro.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Rob doesn't know that, but, back in the 70s, we
liked
somebody to win a division back in those days.
We had the Blackhawks with the NPH line, Mark Pappin Hall.
Much. We didn't get much until the 80s, until we started winning championships.
Rob was designing SoFi Stadium at that time.
I was.
But in the 80s, when the White Sox won a division, the Sting won something.
Yeah, the White Sox won a division, and guess what they did.
And then the Bulls got their run in the late 80s into the 90s.
Well, that was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, well, no, I'd say when I still say the Chicago Sting back in the day was the one that started the reign back in 82, 83. They won the title in 83.
The reign of what?
Then the White Sox got going with their division championship. The Cubs won a division in 84.
And
then it was the Bears that ended up winning a Super Bowl in 85, 86. That was the big difference.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
38 years ago?
Yeah.
That's a big difference?
That's when everything started to be better in Chicago. And ever since then...
Let me ask you this. Back in the
last 15 years...
Soccer's any better shape now in Chicago than it was in 1983?
No.
There you go.
The Sting
We're back there. The
Sting, to me, was... I still remember those guys better than I do the guys here now.
I played hockey with Stern's kid.
Karl Heinz Granitza.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
He had that restaurant and he left.
Yeah.
He left town.
He left.
He was a showman.
But there's still a lot of those players are still around here.
I know.
Really, you think about the Cubs of the '80s? They took the gas pipe.
84 and 89 were the two good years.
The Sox took the gas pipe in '83 with Baltimore.
Our boy Manny at Libertyville High School.
Rob doesn't know this,
right?
There's so many gas pipes leaking gas around Chicago sports. Guys winning divisions and then taking the pipe right afterwards, like Sox did, Cubs did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sox won by accident in 05, and apparently that's what they're trying to do again now is win by accident with that Joe Kelly interview saying, we were bad, lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. And so, what is it, our turn now? Is that how we're going to play
By the way, the White Sox did find arbitration on a few players this week. Brewers did the same thing, and so did the Cubs.
Hader signed with the...
Hader stayed with San Diego and got an arbitration win of $14.5 million.
I predict...
Hate to be morbid, there were a couple deaths. Shane Olivier of the Chargers from Ohio State tackle died, 40 years old.
Ooh.
And then Chuck Carr from the Marlins back in the day, base stealer, 55 years old, man. Yeah. That scared me when I hear people younger than me passing away.
All right, guys.
It does.
We got to run out of here. Thanks to Mike McCarthy at the convention for joining with us. Also, thanks to Carson Beck on the Swamp Rat
Did I
College
just see that
segment.
Rhino's going to get a statue?
Yeah, I just heard something about that.
Yeah.
Who's getting the statue, Rhino?
Ryan Sandberg.
Rhino's getting the statue.
That was a little report from Mike while he was out there. At least he got some
You
positive
got a
news
roving
coming on.
reporter out there. How about
All right. Thanks to Don, Bruce, Rob. I'm Rusty Silber. Have a great weekend. So long, everybody.
Stay warm.
Working hard to find the things she mentioned. He was dedicated, but most suckers hated. That girl was fine, but she didn't appreciate him. She called him up, she's tripping on the phone. Now he had to get up, and he ain't coming home. Now he's trying to forget her. That's how he got with her. When he first met her, when they first got together, everybody put up their hands, say, I don't wanna be in love, I don't wanna be in love.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
WRLR is community radio.
I feel much more informed with what's happening today.
When we say community, we really mean it.
It's not like corporate, and it's just a good station,
We don't belong to some large corporation that makes a profit from this station.
Because I like the diversity.
And listeners won't be forced to listen to large blocks of advertising. Operations at community radio stations are made possible through grants and underwriting from companies within this area of operation. And donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next door neighbor talking to me, only he's on the radio instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.
What's it like to walk in the shoes of a Navy SEAL, a beekeeper, a rabbi, a dentist, a ghost hunter, or a professional clown? Join me, Jim Wunderlich, on Word of Mouth, Thursday mornings from 11 a.m. to noon, and hear their stories. Captivating guests from a wide range of professions sharing a behind-the-curtain view of their jobs. Jobs such as an interrogator from Guantanamo, a private chef, a film director, a doctor, an orchestra conductor, a college basketball coach.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office, 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 finish the business day in the